So I'm here with Sophie, and you've been exploring the Bartók suite
Yes.
and a bit of Percy Grainger, who's one of my favourites. And would it be fair to characterise the things we've been focusing on as, fast quavers in the Bartók third movement and how not to kind of seize up
Yes.
playing that, and also a bit of staccato and how to play staccato sort of simply with
Yeah.
no extraneous
Without
tension?
sticking my fingers on the keys like I'm trying to pluck them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually found that to be that can be quite sort of dangerous in a way, because some people, if you try to do that too much, I think some people find,
And
a lot of extraneous tension arising around the wrist.
yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, well we'll should we delve in with the third movement of the Bartok?
Yeah, sure. Great. Let's do that.
So how's it been going? Because I know you've been talking to me about this already a couple of times. So are there any aspects of it that still you feel, could be easier?
I think overall it all feels a bit uneven, if I'm being critical. And so the passage in the middle, sort of from about bar 22, where it's got the run with both hands, I think that's where it shows up the most. If you see what I mean, that the it doesn't feel like a sort of even crescendo diminuendo. It feels a bit lumpy, if I'm being critical.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's have a little look at it. And I mean, do you want to demonstrate a portion of it and sort of see how it goes?
Shall I play the run into it?
I would always give yourself a run into it. Yeah, basically whatever you would like.
Okay. Well, we'll just start from the beginning because it's only about 30 bars in anyway.
Yeah, great.
It's that passage.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. So what actually do you feel? Like what's going on? What doesn't feel comfortable?
um, I think I don't know. I think that maybe I think as I use, I think I'm just using my fingers on it quite a lot, and and pressing perhaps where I don't need to. I think overall there's just a bit. I don't know. It just yeah, it just feels really disconnected.
Interesting. So this is a great opportunity to see whether certain things work. You've just kind of got to create the environment, the feeling for your body, so that the fingers don't overwork and it doesn't feel disconnected. But you can't think that through. You can't sort of rationalize it and then impose that, especially when it's so fast. Do you remember any of those uh, black key? Can we find a black key tune that uses the if you play sort of F sharp and E flat, something like that, like the black keys adjacent to the wider gap between the groups,
Yeah,
and then can you play something
yeah,
like
sure.
that little lullaby? Duerme mi tesoro, something like that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, great. Are you happy with that, or do you want to make up your own?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, can you find the highest possible F sharp on the piano and the lowest possible E flat?
Yeah.
And having found them, if you bring your hands back to your lap and then just think through that tune, maybe hum it gently to yourself as you play it. And then can you play it on those widest notes?
Sure.
And then come back to your lap. Now, I wonder if you can feel as if this is the eagle flies. So imagine that you're opening your wings, but you know with wings, with a big bird, all the kind of the skeleton and everything is right in here, isn't it? And the tips of the wings are just nothing. They're just feathers. So imagine that your feathers are not controlling or really doing anything, and that when you lift them and open them, you're simply allowing your torso and your ears just to kind of lean towards that note, and then the feather is right at the end and just touches it with the tip of the feather. And then always come back to your lap. So start on your lap and come back to your lap. So we'll try. Can we try juxtaposing that? You might want to do it just like that once, or you could do it a couple of times, and then just without thinking, go back to your lap, and then pick up the Bartók from whichever bar you want. Maybe from the start or wherever you want. So any feedback at all on that? If it's nothing, that's fine, because there's more.
I think it felt a bit lighter. It did. I think I still, yeah, it's still very fingery, but it's quite fingery as a passage because it's quite tightly wound, and it's right in front of you, which is actually more awkward than over here, if you see what I mean. There's something like quite awkward about it as well, I find.
Absolutely. So what I strive for is this feeling of heaviness in my torso against the chair, just a release against the chair, and doing a little bit of the eagle um, kind of can help. You know those kind of wibbly wobbly toys that you can't knock over? You want to feel like that you're safe, you're grounded, and that's kind of what gives you your lightness in your hand. Your torso goes that way. But it needs to be coupled with a really, really clear oral imprint, if you like, of the music. In other words, you need to sing it. So let's try another thing, and let's also spread the Bartók out in pitch. So let's do. Can you do a different tune? Maybe let's do. Do you remember See You Gone on the three black keys, which was do re mi re do re mi do, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just play it any way you like. If it's not exactly the same, it doesn't matter. And let's try it three different ways. Let's try it first of all with knocking the pegs, so just nice, gentle clasp hands. And can you spread those three notes out over the whole piano? So the lowest is really low, middle is somewhere in the middle, and the top note's really high. And let go of them as if you're just tapping in the pegs in a children's toy or something like that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you notice anything about the extent to which you're letting go instantly versus holding at all?
I think I'm letting go more than I used to, maybe. But I still could probably hold some of them. I hold more, and actually, the more in front of me it is, the more I hold it.
And at any pitch, whether it's here, da da da, or da da da, wherever, can you very quietly hum? Because that kind of feeling of continuity in your singing and in your breath can help to mitigate that feeling of kind of nothingness or awkwardness when you're moving from one. Let's try. So we're going to choose between three. So let's try that. Now also, let's do chopping wood, which is exactly the same thing but with palms together. So you've really got to feel the sense of control through your torso because you've got such a tiny narrow edge to strike the keys. So try it like that in exactly the same way, spread out, and maybe just quietly hum it to yourself to kind of feel the continuity so you can just let them go absolutely instantly. That's beautiful. Okay, the third way we'll try is a double milking the cow. So if you make two fists like this,
Okay.
and same thing, same tune, same way, but can you double it up so you're actually playing the notes essentially in octaves?
Ooh, doesn't really
And each time feeling that sense of heaviness, even if you're not heavy at all, you can still let go of your torso into your sitting bones and then just feel as if that humming is what's directing you. So, can you choose one of those three ways? So, we did knocking the pegs, chopping wood, milking the cow. So, which do you feel invokes that kind of connectedness most, if any?
I think it's the chopping wood one. I think just because it feels more central. Like once
Great,
you've done that, you've created more space and it doesn't feel quite as heavy.
great. Okay, so what we'll do is just a few moments of chopping. You could do one phrase, two phrases, whatever you like. Then come back to your lap, and then can you play the Bartók with the two hands spread out more
Yeah,
and maybe a little slower?
yeah,
So it's got a kind of groove. It doesn't feel like slow practice. It's kind of da 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 da. Just like a nice rhythm, a nice beat that you can feel,
yeah.
but just maybe that facilitates it slightly.
Okay. So should I do this
Yeah,
slow?
I think the most important thing is to juxtapose the two things so they're absolutely side by side. So a little bit of chopping, a little bit of Bartok spread out.
Um,
are you noticing anything at all? Does it feel exactly the same? Are you aware of anything or not?
The right hand felt different. I think the left hand felt the same, but I think like so the left hand was in the same place that it's always in, if you see what I mean. And so
Interesting.
maybe that's a sort of habit thing.
Okay. How did the right hand feel different?
It just felt a bit lighter, a bit less heavy. I do think it's easier to play when it's not here. Um, but then maybe I need to give myself a bit more space as well, like just physical space when I'm playing it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. So I think a lot, I've just found it. So I think a lot of the time it's a balance between reminding your body what the most important bits are. You know, like this seeping into the sitting bones, the free torso. Just do a walk on the seat. Can you imagine that your sitting bones are your feet, so you're actually a shorter person, and just have a walk forward on the stool, and then sort of walk back again. So I'm actually moving. I'm actually kind of shuffling myself forward to feel. You know, if you're trudging in the snow, and then I'm going back again. But
Apologies.
also, very nice. But also combined with a more playful mindset, because that's the other thing. You see, if we're trying, then all of these activities can be next to worthless. So I wonder, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but you see, that lightness and that sitting in my sitting bones, like Fats Waller, like Oscar Peterson, that's what I can relate to when I see them doing their thing and just flying around the piano.
Mm.
That's what I strive for in this, but perversely not by striving for it. So I wonder whether I can sort of, can I jazz it up or slow it down or sort of change it some? Can I give it a go?
Yeah, go on.
As you can tell, I haven't practiced this piece, but I'm just trying to get the feel of it. Just some kind of playful, just easy. I don't know whether it's. I mean, I can picture exactly what I mean when I think of those jazz greats. Does
Yeah.
anything like can
Yeah,
you
no, it
picture
does.
any
It
of
does.
that?
There's a relax. There's a yeah. There's a sort of there's a weight to how they play, but without it being forced. Like could like dropping something kind of weight.
Interesting. So go on then. Let's just try some kind of jazz version and spread it out or don't spread it out. Doesn't matter. Whatever's easy. Or
Or
put both hands up an octave or two, like so they're still next to each other, but they're right in front of you. Anything is fine. Yeah, nice. And I still think also singing or humming is the key. If you can feel as if you're, you know how very often jazz bass players will hum along, or even piano players, di di da do 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 do. I also think that actually getting the feeling that you simply do not have to hold anything um, will, even though it's fast and you'll be doing whatever you're doing in the end, just that feeling that all you've got to do is touch piano keys down and a baby can do it. It's a really, really simple thing. Obviously, a baby's not going to play this music, but the actual act of putting down a piano key, I still think maybe comes best from the slow-mo chop. So, like, you've got to do it so slowly because otherwise it feels more awkward.
Hmm.
Can I give it a go?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do that without humming that left hand. Da 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 da. I simply can't hit the notes because I feel disconnected and awkward. Basically, what you said at the beginning. But if I know through my singing da 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 exactly where I'm going, I can just chop with a simple downward chop, and it feels kind of comfortable. I don't know. Maybe try it and then play it normally.
Yeah. Okay.
Any thoughts on that?
That felt a lot better. It felt a lot better than the first time I played it, definitely. I've sort of, yeah, that definitely helped.
I mean, that sounded and looked freer. I'm
Yeah.
really trying not to go
No,
into
it was a lot
confirmation bias.
lighter, and I was I was trying less, if you see what I mean. I was just trying to focus a bit more on my uh, the sort of overall weight and movement of it rather than the sort of individual fiddliness of it.
Yeah. And can you correlate that with the feeling of torso? Because the torso is bigger than the hands and fingers, so it's less individual. It's like the overall thing, and also the singing or the humming. Kind of, you have to you can't conceive of it in individual notes so much, can you? You've
Yeah.
got to hear the whole phrases.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is. It shouldn't be individual notes. Well, that's certainly not. The piano doesn't work if you just have a lot of series of individual notes one after the other.
So I think the key is to set up that feeling
Yeah,
such that you feel as if you don't have to do anything extraneous other than stick a piano key down and know it in your head. And then don't try to translate it too literally, because of course this is a completely different coordination from playing all those notes quickly,
yeah. But
because this is lots of
overall
individual
feeling of it.
articulations.
Yeah, the overall feeling of it, the weight, and this almost up until you hit your hands. If you
Yeah,
see what I mean. Very it well it that it helps. It feels more similar.
yeah.
So,
And there's almost like an infinite variety of approaches that you could take. Like for example, I won't take too much more of your time, but just like for example, you could play. You did it chopping. Can you play it with your thumbs? Every single note with your thumbs. And this time, thumbs only. Don't make too much of an effort to let them go straight away. Just be conscious that you're playing them on the way down. So with all the chopping, I would let go instantly. But with thumbs, just let go when it, when you let go. Try every note with the thumbs. So that's quite interesting because the the articulation required to play the thumb feels like quite a big thing, like a big deal each note. So what you have to do is let that be subsumed within the overall response to the phrase through your singing, through your torso, and you can actually keep that freedom yet allow the movement to be less and less wide in its arc. And that can really, because you simply have to let go and move to the next note. Then you could. What made me feel that you could sort of make use of that even more usefully was at the beginning, where you play bars and bars of left hand. I would play that with both hands. So I would aim for something like this.
Sure.
Can you hear how I'm really focusing on the phrasing? But every single time, my forearm is still completely free, but it's just taking its place in the shape of it.
Can have a go. Let's see. Mm. Cheating using my fifth finger.
It's great, and then play it normally. Just, well, when I say normally, play it however you want, but just not with the thumbs. Wow, how did that feel?
Fine until I got myself in a bit of a tangle with the last few bars. One hand went one way, the other hand went the other way, and they should both be going in the same direction.
So I think also your own imagination and your clarity of intention in terms of which notes are lighter and which notes are more emphasized. If you really focus on that feeling of the phrase shape
Yeah.
and allow your torso to embody that, then you know your fingers, especially if you do it sometimes with the thumbs or sometimes with slow chopping, sometimes you can actually feel as if you're manifesting the music with your mind, and your fingers are just kind of on the end of this flowing mechanism.
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah,
is kind of how, I mean, your brain, your mind is actually in charge, or at least it should be.
yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that's been of some help. I mean, I think, do you have any sort of questions about that lot or any burning
No,
comments or other little bits you want to do?
it's really hard. Is the problem? It's one of the things about it is it just technically pretty challenging. This movement. It's the hardest thing that I've tried to learn out of all the bits that I'm doing, by I think quite some way. And but it definitely helps, as you say, to think of it in the bigger phrases and to try and because the thing is when you look at it, it doesn't look. It's funny. It's deceptive because it each bar, none of the bars are that difficult, not on their own. Like there's nothing, you think, oh, I can do that. Yeah, yeah, I can do that as well. But it's when you pull it all together, it just, yeah, it's just not as, I don't know. Yeah, as you say, it needs more of that arc of phrasing and less focusing in on each individual aspect of it, and that will, I think, help it take a bit more shape.
Yeah.
Because I think
And
it lacks
is
that
it
at the moment. It just feels very notey without much purpose.
so? Is it obvious that even though on the face of it the thumb playing is perhaps more notey in that respect, nevertheless, if you allow yourself to lighten it up,
Yeah,
it can contribute to what you're aiming for.
yeah, yeah. No, it can definitely, and definitely to articulate. To I have a huge tendency to keep my wrists very static when I play. That movement in the thumb is just to, it allows, my thumb has always sounded very lumpy when I play because it's got a different weight to the other fingers. So unless you use your wrist, it will always sound lumpy because it naturally is different. It sits differently in your hand. Everything mechanically, just is different. Whereas if you're using your wrist as the sort of pivot for all of them, then you'll end up with a more even weight. So I've been, yeah, so yeah, no, it is really helpful to do it just with the thumb to kind of, that's how you articulate the wrist rather than just your fingers, I think. And if you sort of practice that, then hopefully over time I will be less inclined just to sort of lock my wrist when I play.
Yeah, and I like your use of the word allow because it's an allowing, because you certainly cannot be overthinking in complex music like this exactly what your forearm or wrist or hands or fingers are actually doing.
Yeah,
So the idea is to again to create the environment to permit these things to operate freely.
yeah,
Um, I mean, another thing you can do is spread bits of the music out. So you could play the first note at its original pitch and then everything else at another pitch. And then when the tune lends itself to a spreading out like a wider gap, I'm thinking of this bit.
okay. Yeah, it's hard, but yeah, no, it gives you more of a sense of the phrase, I think, because you're having to
Yeah.
think about the phrase, because you're having to think about how it connects to itself.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I hear what you say about the demands of it, the technical demands. But again, if you can manifest that feeling that essentially all you need to be able to play it is just a nice integration with all of these physical things, and then just kind of play it in your mind. Just kind of keep track of it. Just monitor it, sing it, hum it. Um, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's great. How exciting!
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. No, yeah, lots to think about.
I got my movements when in
Yeah,
my head. I got the movements around the wrong way.
that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just got better actually. My staccato on that one has definitely improved.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. No, I've been doing a lot of the chopping stuff. Every time I sit down at the piano, even if it's just for kind of, because often my chunks of play are sort of 10 minutes in a day. I have 10 minutes to play, and I'll sit down and I'll start with the chopping exercise. So I think it's really been helping in the Grainger, but also in the second movement of the Bartók as well, which is all staccato, um, or almost exclusively staccato. And I think that has, yeah, I think that has really improved. Um,
So just since you brought it up, could you just demonstrate like 2 bars of the Grainger and 2 bars of the Bartok, like second move, literally just to show us what that is, what you're talking about?
That's the staccato. It's really staccato and it continues in that vein.
That's fantastic. And the Grainger's pretty. It's coincidentally you've chosen this arrangement of Molly on the Shore by Grainger, and it's kind of same sort of stuff, isn't it?
I know, I know, I'm glutton for punishment. But it's a really, really cool piece. It's so much fun. So I won't go too fast because the actual speed of it is a little too quick at the moment.
Yeah, nice. And can you just maybe demonstrate one element of chopping that you did? So you said
Yeah,
you've been doing something regularly to do with the chopping. So do
yeah.
you chop the actual music or do you
Uh,
chop something else and then put it next to it?
a bit of so I start. I always sit down and I start with this one. So I always start with that one, and I do that a few times, and then also a bit the actual thing, but not the actual thing. I've been breaking down into kind of I don't know component parts. So instead of you go, I go. Or, and so it just distracts me from being quite so obsessed with getting every single note right, and thinking more about the movement and the feeling of making that movement and the shape of the phrase rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to hit this note next and then it's this and then it just all becomes less fiddly. And I've been trying to play it in lots of different ways, like you suggested, so to try and um, yeah, just try and get that relaxation into it as well.
That's really interesting. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Because the thing is I know what you mean when you said to make it feel less fiddly. I know what you mean because it's like somebody who also has been having some sessions with me played the wonderful Debussy second arabesque for their grade 8, and I just sort of fell in love with that piece anew after hearing them play it, over a period of weeks. And I decided that that was one of the almost like a test of just how delicately and exquisitely it's possible to play. It's almost identical to that Molly on the Shore. And I realised that the filigree, which in the original is it, it's basically this. And I found that the trick to not finding that awkward or lumpy
Mm.
was to not find and stop and touch the keys first, even infinitesimally. It's just to feel that engagement humming, feel that engagement through the breath, through the core, and then just play the notes, and then almost with a little rotation of the wrist or something on the end. I'm not overthinking that bit.
Yeah,
You get it.
yeah, yeah. That's the same twiddle in the Beethoven, the third movement with the
Of the pathétique.
yeah, yeah.
How exciting. I think basically playing the piano is a lot of the same movements over and over again, which is why we tend to find certain things difficult. um, you know, and unless we fix that thing, it keeps cropping
Repeating.
up in lots of different contexts.